In the poorest countries in the world, many face constant hunger and don't have access to basic healthcare, leaving treatable illnesses unchecked. Children often miss out on school because their families are too poor, keeping them trapped in poverty. Conflicts and unstable governments make life even harder, forcing families to leave their homes and start over. On top of this, climate change brings more problems like droughts and floods, which destroy farms and homes. Like and subscribe to our channel, as in this video, we will look at the countries where poverty is the most severe and the big challenges they deal with every day. 10. Liberia, located on the West African coast, is one of the poorest countries in the world despite its rich natural resources, such as rubber, iron ore, and timber. Decades of civil war from 1989 to 2003 devastated the country's infrastructure, economy, and social systems. Even today, Liberia struggles to rebuild from this legacy of violence. Many people live in extreme poverty, with limited access to clean water, electricity, or basic healthcare. Hunger is a persistent issue, as most Liberians rely on subsistence farming, but poor soil, outdated farming methods, and unpredictable weather make it hard to grow enough food. The education system is severely underfunded, with many schools lacking proper facilities, teachers, or learning materials. This has led to low literacy rates, especially in rural areas, where most children drop out early to help their families. Additionally, Liberia was hit hard by the 2014 Ebola outbreak, which further weakened its healthcare system and economy. Corruption and mismanagement also remain significant challenges, as government resources often fail to reach those who need them most. However, to improve, Liberia needs stronger governance, investments in education and healthcare, and strategies to support its farmers and small businesses. 9. Somalia, located in the Horn of Africa, has faced decades of hardship due to conflict, weak government, and natural disasters. The collapse of the Somali government in 1991 led to civil war and lawlessness, leaving the country divided among warring factions. Even today, Somalia struggles with insecurity, as armed groups like Al-Shabaab control parts of the country and frequently carry out attacks. This violence makes it hard for people to live safely or access basic services like schools, hospitals, and markets. On top of this, Somalia faces repeated droughts that kill crops and livestock, plunging millions into hunger. Many families rely on international aid to survive, as farming is often impossible due to poor rainfall and lack of irrigation. Piracy along the Somali coast and corruption within the government further hurt the country's economy. Despite these challenges, there are signs of hope in cities like Mogadishu, where businesses and infrastructure are slowly rebuilding. For Somalia to recover, it needs stronger leadership, an end to violence, and investments in food security and basic services to improve the lives of its people. 8. Sierra Leone, a small country in West Africa, has faced immense challenges that have left it among the poorest nations in the world. The country endured a brutal civil war from 1991 to 2002, which destroyed infrastructure, displaced millions, and left the economy in ruins. Even 2 decades later, Sierra Leone struggles to recover, with high levels of poverty affecting the majority of its population. Most people depend on subsistence farming, but poor soil, limited tools, and unpredictable weather make it difficult to grow enough food. The 2014 Ebola outbreak was especially devastating, killing thousands and weakening an already fragile healthcare network. Education is another major issue, with many schools lacking proper facilities, trained teachers, or materials. While primary education is free, many families cannot afford extra costs like uniforms or books, causing children to drop out. Despite these challenges, Sierra Leone is rich in natural resources, including diamonds, gold, and bauxite. However, corruption and mismanagement prevent these resources from benefiting the population. To move forward, Sierra Leone needs better governance, investments in healthcare and education, and fair management of its resources to create opportunities for its people. 7. Mozambique, in southeastern Africa, has the potential to be wealthy due to its abundant natural resources like coal, gas, and fertile land. However, it remains one of the poorest countries due to natural disasters, corruption, and underdeveloped infrastructure. Most people rely on farming, but frequent cyclones and floods destroy crops and homes, leaving millions hungry and homeless. Droughts also make it hard for farmers to grow enough food, causing widespread malnutrition, especially among children. Corruption within the government means that the wealth generated by these resources often doesn't benefit the average person. Additionally, Mozambique's healthcare system is underfunded, with high rates of diseases like malaria and HIV putting a strain on already limited resources. Education is another issue, as many children, especially in rural areas, don't have access to quality schools. While there have been improvements in infrastructure, such as new roads and energy projects, most people still live in poverty. For Mozambique to succeed, it needs better leadership, stronger disaster preparedness, and fair distribution of its resource wealth to help its people build better lives. 6. Sudan, located in northeastern Africa, has faced decades of conflict, political instability, and economic hardship, making it one of the world's poorest nations. The country was embroiled in a long civil war that eventually led to South Sudan's secession in 2011, costing Sudan much of its oil revenue. Since then, international sanctions have further damaged the economy. Many Sudanese struggle to afford basic necessities like food, water, and shelter, with rural areas being the hardest hit. Agriculture is a key livelihood for much of the population, but frequent droughts, desertification, and lack of modern farming techniques limit productivity. Hunger and malnutrition are widespread, with millions relying on international aid for survival. The healthcare system is underdeveloped, with hospitals often lacking staff, medicine, and equipment. Education also suffers, as many schools are poorly funded or inaccessible due to conflict. Ongoing violence in regions like Darfur and the Nuba Mountains continues to displace families and disrupt lives. Despite these challenges, Sudan has untapped potential in agriculture and mining. However, for meaningful progress, the country needs political stability, better governance, and investments in critical sectors like healthcare, education, and infrastructure to improve the lives of its people. 5. Haiti, located in the Caribbean, is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. Decades of political instability, economic mismanagement, and natural disasters have left the nation in a perpetual state of crisis. Most Haitians live on less than $2 a day, with many families relying on small-scale farming or informal work to survive. However, repeated hurricanes, earthquakes, and floods often destroy homes, crops, and infrastructure, leaving millions vulnerable. The devastating 2010 earthquake alone killed hundreds of thousands and displaced over 1 million people, and the effects are still felt today. The healthcare system is overwhelmed and underfunded, with many unable to afford treatment. Cholera outbreaks and poor sanitation remain major health challenges. Education is another struggle, as most schools are privately run and unaffordable for many families. Corruption and ineffective governance have further deepened the country's problems, with international aid often failing to reach those who need it most. The country has potential in areas like agriculture and tourism, but stability and investment are crucial. To improve, Haiti needs stronger leadership, disaster preparedness, and a focus on rebuilding infrastructure and creating jobs for its citizens. 4. Madagascar, the large island off the southeastern coast of Africa, is home to incredible wildlife and biodiversity, but its people face deep poverty. Most families rely on farming to survive, but their crops are often destroyed by extreme weather events like droughts and cyclones. Soil erosion and deforestation further damage the environment, making it harder for farmers to grow enough food. Hunger is widespread, and malnutrition is a serious problem, especially for children. Political instability has also slowed progress, with frequent changes in government and corruption making it hard to implement long-term solutions. Poor infrastructure, such as bad roads and unreliable electricity, makes it difficult for businesses to grow or for people to access services. Despite these challenges, Madagascar has potential. Its unique ecosystems could attract more tourism, and its resources could help build the economy if managed fairly. To improve, the country needs investments in education, disaster preparedness, and sustainable farming, along with stable leadership to guide its recovery. 3. DRC. The Democratic Republic of Congo is one of the richest countries in terms of natural resources, but its people remain among the poorest due to ongoing conflict and corruption. The DRC has vast deposits of valuable minerals like cobalt, copper, and diamonds, but these resources are often controlled by armed groups or mismanaged by corrupt officials. The profits from mining rarely benefit the general population, who live without basic necessities like food, clean water, and healthcare. Years of violence and instability have devastated communities, displacing millions and destroying farms, schools, and hospitals. Many families live in camps where hunger and disease are widespread. The DRC also faces frequent outbreaks of deadly diseases like Ebola and malaria, which are hard to control due to the country's weak healthcare system. Despite its potential, the DRC's poor infrastructure, lack of investment, and security issues keep the country from developing. To move forward, the DRC needs peace, better governance, and fair management of its resources. Investments in healthcare, education, and infrastructure are also essential to give its citizens a chance at a better life. 2. Zambia, a landlocked country in southern Africa, is home to abundant natural resources, including copper, but remains one of the world's poorest nations. While copper mining is the backbone of its economy, the reliance on this single industry has made the country vulnerable to global price fluctuations. Despite its resources, economic inequality is rampant, and the benefits of mining rarely reach the majority of the population. Many Zambians live in rural areas and depend on small-scale farming, which is often disrupted by droughts and poor access to markets. Hospitals often lack basic supplies, and diseases like malaria and HIV take a heavy toll on the population. Many children, especially in rural areas, are unable to complete their education due to poverty, early marriages, or the need to work to support their families. Poor infrastructure, including bad roads and unreliable electricity, further hinders progress. While Zambia has made strides in urban development and attracting foreign investment, most of the population has not felt the benefits. 1. South Sudan, the world's newest country, is also the poorest. Since gaining independence in 2011, South Sudan has struggled with political conflict, violence, and extreme poverty. A civil war erupted just 2 years after independence, leading to widespread destruction and displacing millions of people. Families have been forced to flee their homes, often ending up in overcrowded refugee camps without enough food or clean water. The ongoing violence also disrupts farming, leaving many people unable to grow or access food, and hunger has become a crisis affecting millions. South Sudan relies heavily on oil production for income, but corruption and mismanagement mean that this wealth does not benefit the average citizen. Most people live in rural areas with no access to healthcare or education. Schools and hospitals are often destroyed or abandoned due to conflict, leaving communities without the services they need to recover. Despite international aid efforts, the country remains fragile, and peace agreements are frequently broken. South Sudan's future depends on ending the violence, rebuilding infrastructure, and investing in its people. Without these steps, the nation's potential will remain untapped, and its citizens will continue to suffer.